Hello, this is Brian Underwood, Director of Lakewood Discovery Center. This video and activities are offered as part of the celebration of Kansas's birthday. When might that be? We became a state in January 29th, 1861, or to celebrate Kansas pioneers anytime. Today we're outside on the back dock of the Smoky Hill Museum with this combination corn sheller and grinder. I'll show you how they work in just a little bit, but I want to ask you a question. What did you have for supper last night? I'll give you a few seconds to remember and answer. Did you remember? Was it soup, spaghetti, or even pizza? If you're like most of us, our meals come from a store. But in 1861, Kansas, the nearest big name store was, well, very far away. Pioneer families grew or hunted most of what they ate and also traded for a little bit. In the 1860s, corn was the most important crop. It didn't take a lot to get the ground ready. It was easy to grow and could be harvested without machinery. It was the main part of many pioneers' meals. Wheat was also an important crop, but wasn't widely grown until the 1870s. Pioneer families also searched for wild berries, seeds, and roots. Before we get down to shelling and grinding, there's a short video that will show how it's done. Pay special attention to John Van Leer as he remembers harvesting corn as a child and how he describes the days.
One ear at a time is how it's done in this low-tech, full manual approach to harvesting corn. Horses and wagons complete the scene and make it easy to picture the way things used to be done.
People used to do this for a living, and we're doing it just to have some fun and also for the competition to go on and compete.
The top 3 finishers in each bracket will go to the national contest in Kansas. Brackets are determined by age, and depending on your bracket,
you will either be picking for 10, 20, or 30 minutes, and a gleaner and a judge will follow you. The judge or the timer is the one that keeps track of the time. The timer is the one also that if there's any problems with the horses, they will stop that clock so that you'll still have that time to make it up. The gleaner's job is basically to pick up whatever you have left. After your time limit, you are asked to come back to the weigh area, and that then is taken against you, and then it goes by your weight, and then that determines what placings you will have.
One thing about hand corn picking compared to some other sports, it doesn't require much special equipment.
I'm putting on what we call my husking hook. And this is what I wear on my hand to initially loosen the husks on the ear of corn, which I'm going to snap off and toss into the wagon. I get the ear of corn like that, and this hook is, the first job that hook does is open up that ear, see? And then I go right back and snap it out and flip it into the wagon. And that's the trick of the corn husking, is to snap them out quick, get rid of them, get on the next ear.
Few, if any, in the competition have as much experience as Van Leer.
I was a farm kid, and my dad took my brother and I out in the field when we were 5, 6, 7 years old, and that's when we learned to husk corn by hand. That was the only way corn was husked or harvested in those days. So it's something you had to learn to do. Corn husking season was this extra special work season. We got up, say, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, milked cows by hand, and did a few other chores. And we learned to harness our big horses. So by that time, we'd have our horses hooked up in wagons. We'd be in the field around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we'd husk corn all day long. And then we did chores again in the evening. It was a big day, and I still believe that young farm kids could do what they did. Corn husking contests were popular back then, and my brother and I, we both were interested in getting into those contests. But my dad had other ideas. He says, when you guys get growed up, when you're 18 or so, you can probably get in the contest. He says, until then, you work at home.
But Van Leer finally did get into a contest, a lot of them as a matter of fact. He's won the national title several times, including the 50 and Up Championship in 2009. Van Leer's days of actually working at hand corn picking ended in the early 1940s when the first mechanical pickers came on the scene.
And of course, nowadays, you see these big combines come through a field. One day they'll pick as much as what we probably picked in our whole season.
The days of hand harvesting are gone, but for at least one fall afternoon in South Dakota, the sights and sounds linger on.
Let's take a closer look. Here's an ear of corn with the husk. The video might make it look easy to remove this, but this husk is very strong and it helps protect the corn itself. Now, we also have the corn husking glove. You can see here some of the tools that they use to remove that husk, with one having the two or the one hook, and this leather also protects their wrists and helps you move through a day's work easier. We also have a model of a horse-powered corn grinder. These ears of corn show just how different they can be. Now let's get down to business and shell and grind some corn. Shellers and grinders come in a variety of sizes. Ours here is on the smaller side, but some were so large they had to be powered by horses. Each ear of corn has a smaller end and a larger end. We need to put the smaller end into the hopper and apply a little bit of pressure and turn the crank or the flywheel. See what's happening? The corn is being peeled off the cob by the gears that have teeth or tines on them. The kernels go into this drawer and the cob is tossed to the side. Let's do that another time or two. This time, watch what happens to the cob. This machine may not have electricity, but it is very powerful and can be dangerous. Let's do one more. Now, shelling 3 or 4 ears of corn may seem like fun, but imagine doing this day after day. Let's grind the corn. I'll take some of the corn that we just shelled and put it here in the hopper. Turning the handle or the flywheel, it pulls some of that corn down into the grinder. As we spin the handle, it pulls it into these teeth, which are very sharp. Now the ground corn comes out down into the drawer. If you want to make it finer, for instance, if you're making corn flour, just put the cracked corn through again. Pioneers would even have a different disc that they'd replace here to make it a finer, softer grind. Very soft to the touch. Pioneers used everything they could. For instance, this leftover cob that the corn came on. This might be used as kindling to start fires every day. This could be used as cob jam. Pioneers even used this as toilet paper. Corn is used in a lot of different things. The kernel or cracked corn can be used to feed cows, pigs, chickens, and even birds. The corn flour, of course, can be made into just about anything, it seems. And some things are very surprising. Remember John Van Leer from the video that we watched? He talked about working as young as 5 or 6 years old. He got up around 4 a.m. To do his chores and was out to the field harvesting around 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. He'd work all day just to go home to do more chores. For some, that might be fun for a day or two, but for pioneers, they grew corn and went all through the fall harvest, commonly for a month or maybe more. After the harvest, they'd still do their shelling, and while some of the pioneers took their corn to the mill, others would do it themselves. For this activity, imagine being a pioneer family. What you're doing is important, helping your family and supplying corn or flour to eat or sell. But it takes a lot of your time, almost all of it, to harvest, shell, and grind the corn. Use your paper to write, describing what it would have felt like to be your age during corn harvest. What would 4 in the morning look like? What would it sound like? Remember the sounds from the video. Is that what you would hear? What would you feel like working so long? What would you miss doing the most? Do you think you would miss out on anything? Pause this video for 10 minutes to write and start it again, or wait 5 seconds for the conclusion. Early Kansas pioneers spent most of their time on survival activities, things that kept them safe, warm, and fed. Kids played an important part in these activities by working in the cornfields, harvesting, shelling, and grinding corn. I hope you'll visit the Smoky Hill Museum and come inside to see the life-size dugout, interactive space, and all of the other exhibits and activities.